tonight, and for those who, if you have friends that weren't able to make it, we are recording this and we'll get it online as soon as possible. So look at our Timpanogos PTA pages on Facebook, and we'll get it on YouTube and other places and try and share that as much as we can. So if you have friends who weren't able to come tonight, let them know that they can still listen to all the great answers that our two candidates are giving. We have our two candidates for the seat 5. Seat 5 is in the Timpanogos area. It's the Linden boundary, right down to 800 north and west. Well, it kind of jogs around a bit.
Bonneville and Orange.
Yeah, around Bonneville, Orange Junior, and the line kind of jogs around. So it goes past on the west side of State Street as well, and then all the way east to the mountains. So we get to learn the new boundaries for all of us. Our two candidates tonight are Michelle Sorensen and Emily Peterson. The way we're going to do this is we're going to give them each 2 minutes to do an introduction, and then we'll go into questions where they will each have 90 seconds to answer the questions that are given. They will switch off back and forth who starts answering. So the ballot order, Michelle is first on the ballot, so Michelle will start with her introduction first, and then Emily will keep the mic and answer the first question first, and back and forth in that way. So just so you know, that's kind of how we're going to do that. Our moderator is running just a few minutes behind, and she'll be here momentarily, but we're going to get started right now with these introductions, and we'll go from there. So give me 1 second to get, I just need to get the timer up.
Oh, hi, this is our lovely moderator.
I'm so sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
I'd like to be a half an hour early.
Do you want me to stand in here? You can stand there, or wherever you want here. They're going to just do their introductions first. So this is my
Okay, let me just grab my timer. And start when you're ready.
Good evening. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces in the audience. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Michelle Sorensen. I have lived here in Orem for over 30 years. A little bit about me and my background. I began my career in early childhood education and was able to teach school for a few years. And then I chose to stay home with my children. But my heart has always been in the classroom, and I followed my children to school, and I've been serving in our North Orem schools for over 25 years. My leadership positions have included PTA and SCC. Most notably, I have served on Oak Canyon and Timpanogos PTA boards. I was Timpanogos PTSA president for 3 years, and then Timp Council president, which is a cluster president, for 4 years. And I love to advocate for public education. With my experience, I've been able to sit at a lot of tables, and I've learned and listened from teachers and parents and administrators and families throughout our North Orem area. And I've built a lot of trusted relationships by showing up and being engaged. I've learned the strengths and the challenges and the needs of our schools here in Orem, and I love seeing the investment of our parents and our educators and how they work for our students' success. My vision for the new district is that everyone deserves a seat at the table. Parents and teachers, even students, need to have a voice in shaping our new district. You may see my signs, and they say collaborate, communicate, educate. We need to find shared priorities as we collaborate. We need to engage with families and be responsive to families and teachers and the district too as we communicate. And we need to make sure that we ensure that every student has a path to success.
Good evening. I'm Emily Peterson, and last year I was elected as the Alpine School Board representative, and it's really been an honor to serve on this board, and I'd love to continue with all of the work that I've been doing. So a little bit about me. I come from a family of educators. My grandmothers were both 4th grade teachers until they retired, and my mom has been an aide in everything from a behavioral unit classroom to life skills classrooms. So I have a kind of secondhand experience with that. I remember going to behavior classrooms as a teenager. My personal school experience was a little bit tricky. So elementary school was a challenge for me. And one of the things that made it so that I could make it through really successfully was art and music, because I would go to my reading classes and I struggled, but I could go to my music class and I could fully understand it. And then as an adult, I have a child with similar, she struggles in her academics, but as far as creatively, she is a genius. And when they lost their music teacher, we were kind of told by Alpine School District that, you know, you have a dual language immersion program, you need to be a team player, we just don't have enough FTE for specialties. So I was willing to be that, a team player. I want my kids to have a dual language immersion program. But then those programs started to be affected, and they started trying to make decisions with the program, and I began to understand that there wasn't a parent on the board that really understood the intricacies of these challenges that were facing our community. And so I knew, and I still know, that we need a parent on the board, somebody with kids in the schools, somebody whose kids are going to be affected by the decisions. And I've been able to build a lot of really good relationships all across the county and build back some trust so that we can have a really great start to our new district.
Thanks, you guys. Oh, let's see. We have time for a minute. Okay, great. All right, we might have already talked through the format, but while she's getting me mic'd up, just a few thoughts, and maybe you guys have already gone over this. Candidates, we want to know what you think, not what you think your opponent thinks. So make sure you're sharing your thoughts, and if you start to venture there, I'll just interrupt you and redirect you, so we can keep on task with what your thoughts are. And then audience, you guys are already amazing, but if we can just remain silent so that they can have their chance to share, there'll be time after where we can review and go through other things. Okay?
Also, it'd be great if we can take turns starting. So Michelle, because you started, Emily, you can answer this first one first, and we've got 90 seconds for each candidate. So Emily and Michelle, what do you believe your role as a school board member should be?
Yeah, so as I've been serving on the board, something that I take very seriously is ensuring that I am spending as much time in the schools as possible, listening to the community and to parents, and making sure that people know that I'm accessible and I'm approachable, so that they know that if ever something comes up, that maybe the answer is no, right? Maybe I can't give the person what they want, but I will listen and I will respond with compassion and with understanding, either direction. And if it's something that I feel like I can advocate for, then I do. And I even advocate sometimes for things that I know the answer is going to be no, but I know that our community needs it, and I have had a lot of those hard conversations, and I am happy to continue having those conversations. It's something that is really important to me to understand that everybody, all of our educators, just want to educate our kids and make sure they're learning at high levels. And what the parents want is we want our kids to learn at high levels, and really it's that communication back and forth to make sure people understand what is happening at the district level and how that is affecting families, and then how schools are affected by things that are done at the district level. And then just ensuring that if something comes up, I bring it up with the right person and I get it fixed. I'm like a worker bee in the background, and I just, if I hear something or I see something, then I say something and I work to fix the problem.
The role of a school board member is to be a bridge between the community and our district. And so as a school board member, I would work to make sure that communication and that collaboration is happening. And I think that effective school board members advocate for the schools that they represent, and they need to be really intimately familiar with their schools and their strengths and their needs, as well as things that teachers want, and just figuring out what our schools need. But as we work as a board together, The school board needs to work together for the success of all students throughout the whole district. So that is what I think that a school board member's role is to represent their schools and take those needs, listen to the families, and respond to concerns, get to the next person that we need to talk to if there are any issues individually with students or families. But then we need to also be unified as a board and be ready to take care of all of the students in our whole district.
Thank you. One of the most important jobs that you'll both be, whoever's elected will be doing, will be selecting the new superintendent. So Michelle, will have you answer this question first. What specific criteria do you have for choosing a new superintendent? And then Emily will.
Okay. I think that we need to make sure that our superintendent is a great educator, that he's had a lot of, or he or she has had a lot of experience in schools and as administrators, that they have walked the walk and talked the talk. I also would want our administrators to be someone who is ready to support our professional learning communities. Our professional learning communities are so vital to teacher retention and teacher support. And I would really want to have a superintendent that is ready to step in and have that ready to go and have a lot of experience with professional learning communities. I would also want to have a superintendent that has a great vision and is ready to craft a vision for our school to be successful and to make sure that all of our students are being successful in their classrooms and teachers are supported.
We have a unique community, excuse me, around Alpine School District. The way that our community was built up and the way that we've tried to solve challenges in the past have made it so that we have neighborhood schools, we have a lot of special programs. And with having those special programs and all of the different buildings that we have, one of the things, along with having somebody that has a lot of really good experience in education, I want to see somebody who can think outside the box. I want to find somebody who can look at different ways of using our buildings, different ways of promoting our programs, and maybe it will look exactly the same, but somebody that's very flexibly minded about how we're gonna proceed, because I think we have so many opportunities. We have a great tax base, we have great schools, we have incredible educators. We have an opportunity here to start off really strong with something unique and different, or maybe the same, I don't know. But I would like to start with somebody who's open-minded enough to look and kind of look forward down paths that maybe as Alpine School District we haven't really looked down. And then also I want to make sure that I have somebody that wants to engage with the community really well and work really well with the community and listen to all different viewpoints so that we can come to the best conclusion for each of these decisions that we are making.
Thank you. I'm without a mic, so I'll just project. But Emily, you'll take this first question, and then Michelle, what do you think is the greatest challenge facing students today, and how will you work with teachers to bridge that gap and to solve those challenges?
Ooh, that's a great question. So our students have a lot of challenges at all levels. We have some students with mental health challenges in our upper grades. We have students that are struggling academically in our elementary schools. We have the whole range of challenges, and some of the things that we've been working on that I want to make sure that we continue forward is making sure that our teachers are getting the additional training that they've been getting. We switched to a different curriculum just this past year that focuses a little bit more on a training that our teachers did a few years ago. And part of that goes with that is this professional development that they are doing, and their teacher coaches and all of this infrastructure that we put in place where we can actually dig down into data from the testing and figure out down to the child what their challenges are academically, and then we can help them find whatever tool they need to learn that concept or that, whatever it is that they're struggling with. And with our older kids, I think just making sure that they have a safe place to come to school, that they're not going to get bullied no matter where they fall on any of the things that our kids know that they're going to come here and they're going to be safe and they're going to be loved and they're going to be taught in a safe environment.
Some of the challenges that our students are facing, we have quite a few multi-language learners in our community. And I have sat at SCC tables and PTA tables and heard from administrators as how they are helping these students learn. And they're being really innovative. And I would really like to take and learn from that and make those things happen in our new district, as well as find ways to help our multi-language learners. We have special needs. We really have a special needs community that's very concerned about this new district, and so we need to be proactive with our special needs and make sure that they have a place to get their services and the people that need to help them. I agree with Emily that safety and belonging are something that our children really need to feel. And I have loved the culture in each of my children's schools, that they have been given a place of belonging, and there are so many variety of things for them to find friend groups and the support that they need in our schools to feel safe and successful. Teacher support, I agree, PLC communities are the best way to support our teachers in their content.
Thank you. All right, Michelle, you'll take this one first, and then Emily. To what extent do you think modifying the existing feeder patterns between your elementaries to your junior highs to your high schools is a priority for you personally, and please explain your reasoning.
Okay, this is one thing that working on the Timpanogos cluster as a PTA council president, it was super easy to become aware of this problem in our area. Where Timpanogos was the third high school built in Orem, we kind of get the smallest amount of children to our school from each of the junior highs that feed into Timpanogos. And I think that really cripples some of our programs, our arts, and even some of our sports. So I think that we need to really look at the data and enrollment numbers. We need to look at our programs and see how they could be best supported by the feeder patterns. So maybe we need to clean them up, but maybe we need to make sure that our programs are really going to be able to thrive no matter how we get children to our schools. I know that sometimes it's hard for children to go to school and then their friend group gets separated from them as they go to the next school. And so in our schools, especially our secondary schools, we need to make sure that we have support groups. I really love the Sources of Strength here at Timpanogos High. It's a networking, and so I just feel like we need to make sure that we are supporting our students and making sure that our programs can thrive.
This is one of those things where I see pros and cons both directions. I think we need to start kind of at the high school level and figure out, like, I know this is like a huge thing that everybody's talking about, moving freshmen to the high school. So we need to figure that out. What does that look like? And we have to kind of follow that thinking path all the way to the end. And if we do that, then that changes what our middle school structure looks like, and then that could potentially change what our elementary school looks like. We have a unique opportunity where our entire district is pretty well built out. There are a few areas that will still build out, maybe a little bit more growth, but not so much that we can't plan ahead. And this is something that when I got on the board, I know was a big concern for us parents, is that we felt like decisions were being made without a long-term plan. And so it's something that I would want to look into to make sure that when we put together a plan, we're not just thinking about next year or maybe even 2 years, but we're looking 5-10 years down the road, because what we can do is we can study what a cycling population looks like in a built-out area. We have plenty of them around the country, plenty around the state, and we can say, okay, this is kind of the population cycle, and we should be able to make some changes at the beginning that then kind of stay in place. And this is something that, like I said, I see both sides, and I would be happy to look at either direction, just like following that, you know, pulling on the thread until you get to the end of the line.
Okay, thank you. All right, Emily, you answer this one first. Should the new district commit to keeping the DLI and the ALL programs? This has kind of two parts. Would they stay in their existing schools? And if you think they should commit to that, how would you support that commitment?
Yes, I do. So, having music in a school takes your graduation rate from 70% to 90%. Having a child in DLI takes their graduation rate from 90% to almost 99%. It's one of the few markers that we can actually look at and see that it makes a huge difference in a child's life. I always say that it makes this big wide world just a little bit smaller for kids. It's not for everybody, and so we need to make sure that things are well supported. And as I've seen supports start going away for DLI, a lot of those things have to do with our policies about specialties and our policies about FTEs. So I think if we are going to commit as a board that we want DLI, we need to be committing to those schools 12 FTE for that DLI program. I also think that we should be committing to schools 1.5 to 2 FTE for specialties in all of our elementary schools. I am totally fine with moving programs around. I think when I first got on the board, I did this whole study and we were looking at all the things with boundaries with the schools, and I think there will need to be some shifts. I think we're gonna have to do the mother of all boundary studies that I came up with when I first got on the board and did lots of research on what can we do to help all these schools. These are all my schools that I represent currently. And so I'm not opposed to moving, but I do think we should support.
My children have benefited from these programs, and I am committed to keeping as many programs and resources as we can. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of principals, Jenny Moore at Windsor and Kyle Hoops at Foothill, and quite a few principals who have these special programs in their schools. And sometimes they compete, and like the children at Orchard that are Gen Ed now have to stick with the same group of students their whole school career in that elementary school because there's only one Gen Ed class. So I feel that we need to make sure that as we commit to keep these programs, that we are supporting them and making sure that our schools have enough students to fill the schools and support the programs. Jenny Moore, I was able to be in a meeting with her this last week, and she said, I really think we need 800 kids to support a DLI program. And so we just need to make sure that if, as we keep these programs, that we're also supporting the school as a whole. I don't know that we need to be fiscally conservative too, and make sure that each school has an opportunity for students. So I would be in support of trying to have some program and some specialty program at each school.
Our next question has to do with the faculty and staff. And Emily, let's see, Michelle, we'll start with this one. Do you support continuing the current retirement benefits, including early retirement package for employees in the new school district?
I've gotten asked this question a lot, and I've been able to talk to our finance team at Alpine School District, and I know that this is a big concern. There is that early retirement package, and it makes it very appealing for our teachers to stay, and it helps us retain our teachers too. And the information that I've been able to get from the finance department is that this is a very sustainable way to support our teachers. And so I am committed to keeping that bonus for our teachers, and I do think that it is feasible in our new district.
Yeah, so the mechanism for this program makes it viable not only in a smaller district, but even in the smallest district in the state. So Murray School District, for example, they also have one of these programs that's maybe arguably a little bit better than the current program that we have because the way the years add up. So the mechanism for financing it is there. And so it's not a big lift to continue this program. And I think absolutely we should. It helps teachers feel secure. Making sure that teachers feel secure, especially during this transition, has been a huge priority for me this year. Making sure that every time I'm interacting with teachers or administration or anybody that is working for our district, that they understand that I take my job as an employer very, very seriously. And I want to make sure that our teachers, our administrators, everybody feels like we are going to make sure that you get paid really well, we're going to give you great benefits, and we will absolutely continue these retirement programs because the mechanism to fund them is just built into funding. It's not, there's not like a lot of extra, it basically pays for itself. So yes, I absolutely support that, and I want to make sure I'm very proud of the package that we passed this year, and I'd like to continue passing those competitive packages for our teachers in the future.
Thank you. This next question has a little bit of background. RDAs, redevelopment agencies, and HTRZs, the Housing and Transit Reinvestment Zones in Utah, use property tax revenue to fund the city's redevelopment and housing projects, particularly near public transit stations. These programs allow for participating areas to reinvest a portion of the new tax revenue, up to 80% from each taxing entity, into local improvements like infrastructure, parks, and affordable housing. While this temporarily reduces tax revenue for those entities, the goal is to stimulate long-term growth and increase future revenue. So, realizing that this does affect school funding, we would like to know what are your thoughts on these HTRZs and the RDAs and their impact on school funding. And Emily, you'll start.
Okay. Just like super easy questions, this sounds great. Okay, so RDAs they are like, this is one of the things I really do see both sides. So for example, if we take Geneva Steel, we had to do a lot of cleanup in order to develop that land, right? And so these developers are like, well, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of money to fix this land so that I can build something here, and so they get these kickbacks. So as a whole, RDAs aren't necessarily good or bad. They can be good and they can be bad. But some of the things that I think we should make sure that we're looking at as we're looking in the future is the percentage that we are giving these developers and the length of time that we are giving them tax breaks. Some of the ones that have come up a lot in the news and that are a little bit more controversial tend to be very long RDAs or very high percentage RDAs. So as a school board, as a taxing entity, we work on RDAs. It's one of the things that we talk about in closed session, and so it's really striking that balance. And also, it's very important to be willing to say, no, this is not a good deal for us, and we need that money for our students. And it's something that that I think is going to be really key as we move forward. The other one that I'm so sorry I cannot remember the acronym for, the HDMI thing. HDRZ. Oh shoot, I only have 5 seconds. If we have to tear down businesses to build housing, we lose sales tax, and that affects our students. It raises our property taxes. So we need to be really careful when we tear down businesses and build up high density housing.
Okay, so the long-term growth and future revenue of our district is important, and I know that the school districts in our state have very high guidelines for when they will accept an RDA. And there's some of the qualifications are is that it needs to bring a lot of people in and build our community and our city or our area, and it needs to improve the tax base. So some of those things need to really be considered as we think about RDAs. And my understanding is that districts don't approve very many of the RDAs because they don't meet the standards that will help our district. One thing that I would like to advocate for is developer fees. We in the state of Utah have grown a lot, but the developers haven't really helped us out as school districts in giving back. And so I think that that's one thing that we really need to advocate for on our legislative hill, is that districts would be able to get development fees to cover the cost of building new schools and help the district out as they build.
All right, the next question goes to you first, Michelle. Do you feel that our new district will need to raise taxes and or close schools right away? If so, how would you go about that?
Okay, that's 2 questions in one, right? Okay, raising taxes is one of the hardest decisions that a school board can face. And I recognize that raising property tax is a regressive tax, and it hits our senior citizens and our families on fixed incomes the most. So my priority when facing a tax raise would be to scour our budget and to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible in every way, and to think of ways that we might be able to innovate and save money in different places if those opportunities show themselves in our budget and our procedures and systems. About closing schools, how would I approach that? Is that the question? Okay. We need a better system in place when we think about consolidating schools. We need to, before even beginning a formal study, we need to pull in our communities and ask them what they value in their schools and their school cultures, and really involve our families and our school communities. And then as we put the data from the district enrollment numbers, that's the system that I would like to see, is a lot more community input, a lot more understanding of the data and communication as we work together to solve these problems if we need to close schools.
So this has been something that's been a talking point for many years. And when I was elected, it was part of the reason, because this is one of the things that as a parent, it was kind of like, okay, if you need to do something with my school, that's fine, but talk to me about it, talk to my principal, make sure that we're part of the conversation, like Michelle is saying. So when I got on the board, I took the time to speak to every one of the principals up here in North Orem and really get a lay of the land of, I have schools that consolidated, I have schools that moved programs, and I have schools that have stayed put. And some of the feedback I've gotten, it really is a range. One of them is, if we're going to upheave kids, let's do it once. Let's not do a boundary study here and a boundary study here and move kids around. Let's just do it once, rip off the Band-Aid. Another piece of feedback that I got is the challenge that we have is we have old buildings in really great neighborhoods. Like, the actual property is exactly where we want a school in our community, but that school is the oldest building, for example. So Windsor comes to mind as one of those. Linden Elementary is another one. So, and again, we have all these programs. So as I was studying it and I was looking at it, that's the feedback I got. Let's rip it off like a Band-Aid, and then let's make sure that we're putting it together as a puzzle. We're looking not just at buildings and potentially rebuilding buildings or any of those things, but also where are we going to put the program and how are we going to help the kids through that transition.
Thank you. All right, this next question goes to you first, Emily. What do you think will be the most controversial issues that you face if you're elected to the school board, and how will you approach that? And then
I'm pretty sure that what we just talked about is going to be the most controversial thing that ever happens in our community ever. So, and this is something that I've been working on literally all year long. So So I would say that it's going to be so important to make sure that we are listening to our community as we are figuring this out. We have an opportunity, like I said earlier, we have a built out city. So we have the opportunity to look at what a cyclical population looks like, and like I said, rip that Band-Aid off and figure out where are these programs going, which schools are we gonna rebuild, which ones are we going to no longer use, and what will we use that property for. And that is going to take all year to get figured out as we're working on the new districts. But once again, making sure that we have our community involvement is very, very key. So I think, and that goes for the elementary and the junior high and the high school level. We are gonna be having, I see us just erasing all the boundaries and trying to figure out, starting with, do we move freshmen up? And then what do we do with our middle schools? And then how do we make sure that we are supporting all of those programs and taking care of our kids? So making sure that we have ideas for our kids, making sure that I've heard some really great ideas of combining field days or doing pen pals or something like that so that our kids are interacting with each other at different schools before any boundary changes are even done.
I agree one of the most controversial issues that our new district will face is our budget deficit and how to solve for that. I think that we do need to make sure that with our changing enrollments, that our schools are operating at an efficient level. And so some changes may need to happen there to make sure our schools are operating at an efficient level. And as we do that, we need to make sure that our teachers feel secure and that they will be able to stay in our district too. I talked to a lot of teachers and they're really concerned about the new district, and we just need to make sure that with our budget we are planning and providing competitive salaries for our teachers that they will want to stay here in the South District. I agree that community input, collaboration, and communication need to happen. I think that that's been a little lacking, and let's set up community roundtables at each school community. Let's get our community input here as we face these controversial issues and find ways to solve for them with our data and have data-driven solutions along with community input.
Wonderful. We have two final questions before your closing remarks. For the second to the last one, let's say you and your fellow board members are attending a Day at the Hill for the school board members, which is January 30th. What do you think will be the most effective thing to do to advocate for our new school district? And Michelle, go ahead.
Okay, I really love advocacy. That's one of the things that I learned through my service and leadership in PTA is advocacy for public education. One of the first things we need to do is make sure that we have good relationships with our legislators. They are there and they need to hear from us, and they need to know us on a first name basis. I already know quite a few of our legislators here in our area. So I think building strong relationships with our legislators is important. I also think that we need to make sure that we're advocating for our teachers. I think our teachers often feel a little micromanaged, and some of the legislations that come down from the Hill get into their classrooms a little bit. And yes, we need to make sure that our classrooms are safe and that what is being taught is proper and follows our community values. But we need to make sure that our teachers feel supported and let them do their job as teachers. And one last thing that as we advocate on the Hill, I think that we need to advocate for more student funding. Utah has the highest, always ranks economically in development as one of the highest in our country, but yet we always rank lowest, or one of the lowest in our student funding. So I think we need to make those match a little bit better.
So I too know several legislators. I just had a breakfast with some of them, and something that, one of the conversations that we had that really kind of shifted the narrative, I guess, is just talking about sometimes the legislators are trying to pass things and they're great ideas, but they don't really come with funding attached to it. And so sometimes things that are very well intentioned, when they get to us, it becomes a budget cut. So trying to kind of phrase it in a way that's not accusatory, because everybody means well. All of us want what is best for our kids. Like, we're all nice. We all want what's best for our kids. And so being able to have a conversation in a way that you can phrase things in a way that is collaborative rather than accusatory, I think is going to be really important. As far as what would be something that we should be advocating for, I would say tying a little bit more funding to, we only have a few more years to make our schools seismically safe, so I would probably advocate for that, and maybe some more grant type funding that we could apply for some of those things. At the same time, making sure that we are, as like citizens in the school district, doing our part to pay for those things as well.
Great. All right, so Emily, we'll start with you. What should this new school district be known for in 10 years? And then Michelle.
I love that. I hope that in 10 years, everybody is like, I'm so glad that we split, and this is the best school district in Utah. We have the opportunity to do that. We have the most property tax per student. We have the most properties. And after this recent tax increase, there is no deficit. We can move forward. There is not a deficit. Between the tax increments from last year and the one from this year, we are golden. And so all we have to do is make sure that we are managing that budget really, really well. And in order to give teacher raises, maybe it needs to go up a little bit next year. I don't know, I can't say for sure. But what I can say is that I absolutely promise to do so responsibly. But as far as what I want to be known for, is I want to be known for having arts in every elementary school. I want to be known for having special programs in our schools and having great graduation rates, because we are offering the best education at the highest levels from kindergarten all the way through graduation. And that we have supports in place for our multi-language learners, for our special ed kids, that they are taken care of at every level, and really be the darling of Utah County. I know that we can do that because we have the culture here, and we have the expectation in our area to have high levels of learning, small class sizes, special programs, all of the things that it takes to be successful.
10 years from now, I would love for our district to be known as the district that could. We're gonna face a few challenges, but I want us to be known as the district that faced those challenges head on and worked collaboratively as a community and the district staff together to make data-driven decisions and community input decisions to create real student success. Among our teaching community, I want to make sure that we're the district that they want to work for. We really want to have them engaged and cared for as teachers and educators. I know that it takes time to build a district, and I think that comes with a really strong vision and mission and goals. And so I think that's one of the first things that we need to do as a new district, is to establish a very strong vision and make every goal, every decision reflect back to that vision. And one thing that I'm working hard on in my leadership position at the district with the PTA is getting our families engaged in our school communities. I love this quote that I found as I was researching family engagement. It says, "Research consistently shows that family engagement is one of the most powerful predictors of student success." We need to get our families engaged in our district too.
All right, well, we appreciate your answers to all these questions. We now have time for your closing statements. And so we have 90 seconds. Which we give them
2 minutes.
2 minutes. minutes.
2 minutes
Okay?
for closing
Okay,
statements.
we'll give you your 2 minutes for your closing statements, and Michelle, you can begin, and then Emily will finish.
I'm so excited for the possibility of this new district. I think that we do have a lot of great assets and strengths that we bring, and I'm ready to tackle getting this new district started off right with, like I said, a strong vision and mission statement. The importance of education has been instilled in me since my childhood. My dad immigrated here from Poland to further his education, and he always emphasized to me when I was growing up with my brother, it was always education, 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 and education is core to my, to me, and I have continually been in education throughout my whole life. One of the things that my dad used to ask me is when we were getting ready in the morning, and he would say, "Are you prepared?" And I'm asking myself that now. Am I prepared to be a school board member here in this new district? And the answer is yes. Throughout my leadership roles and positions, I have worked at many tables. I've worked with families, I've worked with educators, I've worked with administrators, and I am familiar and have the longevity in our community to understand what our community needs and what we need to start this new district. I've also built a lot of good relationships with families and educators, and I am a trusted advocate here in our North Orem area. And I am just ready to make sure that this district gets started off in the best possible way.
So last year, when I was elected, I made a lot of promises, and I delivered on all of those promises. I have made sure that if parents have a concern, or if a school has a concern, if an administrator has a concern, that I immediately address that concern. And because of who I am, and because of my personality, and because of my ability to help people know that I'm trustworthy, just by interacting with me for short times, I have been able to advocate for every one of our schools, and there are many ways that I've been able to do that. We have assistant principals in some of our smallest schools. We have some classes that were once going to be split that no longer are. And that is from me paying attention and building those relationships with my principals, with my teachers, with my community members, who know that they can come to me with any challenge and that I will face it. My approach to governance has been different from our previous board members, that I have always believed in open conversation, even when it's uncomfortable. I've been in some very uncomfortable conversations, can you tell? I believe that voters deserve to be trusted with big decisions. Over the past year, I've worked really hard to rebuild relationships across the county and across the state that were fractured against our community. This next board is going to be making huge decisions that are going to shape our schools for decades to come, and I want to make sure that those decisions are made with transparency, collaboration, and trust, not division, not control. The leadership that I have shown is that I am here to bring everybody to the table. In my first year here, like I was saying, I focused on clear communication, practical solutions, and improving our budget, making sure that I am being fiscally responsible, and I've proven that I can do all of those things. And as a person on the board, the only one in Orem with board leadership experience, I understand the depth of all of the roles that go into being on the school board. Thanks.
Thank you. And personally, I want to thank both of you. I feel so blessed to live in a community where we have two fantastic people that are willing to donate their time and energy to represent us. So will you join with me in giving them a round of applause?